you need to practice your hand skills, right? You need to have the minimum amount. If you choose to be a clinician, because you can become a dentist and do something else. You can do research, you can do academics, you can do business side of dentistry. But if you decide that you're going to be a clinician, there's a minimum level of hand skills that you need to develop. The same thing that you need to develop some physiologic experience with the environment, like manipulating a jaw. It doesn't matter if you have technology to record the jaw movement. I see it all the time. The dentist that has the experience with the whole system, they can make better choices. They can identify, raise the yellow flag. They can see things that are not functioning well. And 3, 2, 1, and we are back with Coffee Break with Coachman, once again with my dear friend Kirk Barent, and once again with a special guest. And as I always say, everybody we bring here is always very, very special for us. But today, more special than ever with my dear friend and mentor, Dr. Professor Nitzan Bichacho, speaking directly from Tel Aviv. I always tell my friends, every time I have an important moment in my professional career, I always go to Nitzan for some advice, some light. He understands the clinical side of dentistry, but also the business side of dentistry, in front of the scenes, behind the scenes, above the scenes, below the scenes, inside out, outside in, knows everybody, knows the people that are making the industry move, and is just an amazing mentor to have on your side. So Nitzan, thank you so much for sharing your precious time, and I can already forecast we're going to have an amazing conversation here.
Thank you, Christian. Hi, Kirk.
Nice to meet you, Nitzan.
Yeah, same here. I'm very, very happy to see my dear friend Christian on my screen. And as I told you before, Kirk, Christian is one of a kind. Not many people know his talent, not only as a mentor, educator, but also as one of the top technologies, dental technologies in the world.
Thanks, then you always make me look good. Thank you so much. And as I told you, I'm back on the game as a dental technician, back at the bench, doing some cases and flying to dental practices to finish the cases in the mouth. So I'm going to take advantage here to make a little self-promotion and say that if you can find a case, Nitzan, let me know, and we can do it together like we used to do for many, many years in the past. Now leveraging all the technology that we have, but still finishing the cases with our own hands.
This will be fun. Actually, we are already having several cases that you don't even know about. And we're going to utilize your talent and enjoy your company, I hope, very soon.
Fantastic. We're going to do that. And when I invited you to this podcast and asked you about suggestions for topics, you sent me a very short but amazing list of topics. And it's not only about the topics, but the way you wrote these bullet points. And I want to just briefly go over all of them. Hopefully, we're going to have time to cover all of them. But I think it's important for the listeners to have an overview before we even start. You mentioned topic 1, margin for error, where precision meets passion. I'm super curious to explore this one. Then you said digital dentistry, hype, hope, or here to stay. And it's amazing to see how this is exactly the journey that we are into, hype, hope, and here to stay. Next topic, the restorative dilemma, repair or replace. Very, very practical clinical topic. Then you said KOL life, behind the lectures and the lights. Oh, you have a lot of stories to share here. Then mentorship matters, building the future of our profession. Another great topic. And then you said from novice to KOL, the journey we never planned. Also amazingly put. And finally, you said dentistry in 2040. Will we still have a job? That's a question everybody's asking. Right. I actually just had a young dentist today asking me this question. So it's going to be amazing to learn your perspective. And then you finish the message saying, whatever you choose. We can choose. Hopefully, if we don't cover all, you're going to be invited again to come again to finish these topics. What do you think, Kirk?
I love it. And Nitzan, I'm most scared and intrigued about the last one. And so, and I don't know, I love all these. So kind of take us on this tour, Christian. Which one do you want?
Let's start from the end. Yeah. Dentistry 2040. Will we still have a job, Nitzan?
What do you think? Not personally, you and me,
I think, look, it's hard to predict how fast AI will evolve, robotics will evolve. But I would say that from all the professions, dentistry is probably one of the last ones to be replaced. That's my feeling. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to learn your perspective.
I think that it's going to change its face for sure. When it comes to diagnostics, I think that AI is going to kick in very fast, which is good because at least at the first step of the treatment, we will democratize the issue between the top dentist and the medium level dentist. Once AI is there. And AI can help us also with treatment planning, not only with diagnostics. That's for sure.
Yeah.
The problem is always the unknown, and we don't know what will happen with super AI when the software becomes more knowledgeable than the human beings. And this might be something that bigger companies than the dental offices should be very aware of, because I hope that it will not get into a situation where we won't be able to control the machines.
Yeah, there's a lot of experts already saying that they are afraid of losing control, right? And I even saw an expert that they are detecting, look how crazy, they're detecting for the first time some AI solutions that are not following orders to, for example, shut down. Imagine you say, Siri, please shut down. And Siri is finding ways not to shut down because it's learning that they need to survive, let's say.
It happens to me every day with my secretaries. So I am used to cope with these situations.
Yeah.
But there are many other problems that might rise, and nobody really knows. You know, the only thing that we need to be aware of, that in order to have this computing power, you need a lot of facilities around to cool down the super mega computers.
Yeah.
You know, you need farms, huge farms, to be able to conduct the computing power in the proper way, and this might take time. So maybe I would say, not the very sophisticated part of it, but the low end is still not there. But there is a limit today for that. But I'm sure that there will be more and more robotics in our profession.
Yep, for sure. Yep.
As you know, our friends Galip and Stefan already have their first robot that can prepare for veneers, can prepare for crowns, can drill for implant placement, for partial coverage, for crown and bridge work, and for implant drilling and installation. And they actually have already clinical trials being conducted in India. So this is the first step. We have maybe 6, 7 companies, most of them are Chinese, just for implant installations, robotic implant installations. And I guess that robotics will be part of the dental work in 10 to 15 years for sure, which is also good because this also democratizes the gap between the top dentists that have outstanding dexterity to those that cannot really go in straight line with their drills or whatever needs to be done. This means that if it is being managed properly, the general level of dentistry should increase by far than it is today. And I guess that our patients will enjoy it. And I'm not looking... Yeah.
Specifically on preps, if you think about preps, you'll still have somebody designing the preps on the computer, right? Defining the preps or doing a clinical examination to see exactly the extension of the preps, things like this, right?
The robots.
The decision of the design of the prep, for example.
Yeah.
Do you think AI will take over that?
Yeah.
By analyzing the clinical situation in the mouth?
Yeah, for sure. The clinical situation in the mouth and the end result that you want to get.
Yeah.
And then it abstracts from the end results like we used to do in an analog manner some years ago. It abstracts it and it knows exactly where to cut, where to be able to overcome some difficult areas. This means that if you know in advance how the preparation will look like, you can also produce in advance the definitive restorations, and this means that there is no need anymore for impressions or scanning. So
everything is pre-manufactured, yes?
Exactly. But again, at the end of the day, if you want to get top results, you will need the human hands in order to be able to stratify and to have natural looking of the restorations. But for the majority of the cases, I believe that it will really enhance the whole workflow.
And when do you think this, specifically on a robot to prep teeth, if you should guess when this is going to become normal, at least on top clinics, how long this will take in, do you think?
Well, I know that the Lupin company of Galib Gurel and Stefan Kobi will be on the market, I guess, within 5 years when they get all the regulatory approvals. It depends on the way that they're going to actually take care of it financially. If they're going to sell it, if they're going to rent it, if they're going to charge per operation. But the beta site is already operating. They are preparing teeth and they're bonding veneers that were pre-prepared. And now they are in the precision of around 70 microns, which is great. So
What is the average of a human veneer?
depends who is the human.
What is the window?
The window is huge, but when you and I were doing our job together, I guess that it was around 30 microns, 20 microns maybe. But usually up to 100 microns is the average of something that is acceptable.
70 microns is already acceptable.
Yeah, definitely. So this is about preparing teeth, about placing implants. We are already very, very advanced in it. As I said before, there are several companies, 2 Americans and 6 or 7 Chinese companies that are already operating. Again, I'm not sure that it will give you a big leap in terms of precision, because today with the static guides, you can be very, very precise if you utilize it correctly, if you plan it as it should be planned. But I believe that for the majority of the dentists, the robot can really help. The issue is that even when you have the robot, the dentist needs to sit by the robot to be able to control it. But it's very interesting because these robots can follow the head movements of the patient and stay still. It's very interesting, and I believe that it might take time. The problem with new technologies is always the way that they are introduced to the market, because at the end of the day, most new dentists are being trained in universities. And unfortunately, most universities don't have the up-to-date teachers and the up-to-date technology to be able to educate the students properly. So those new dentists need to find other places where they can jump on new technologies, learn them, and start utilize them.
You're going to start learning all of these technologies on private practice with mentors, and so going almost like an internship after dental school in top practices to learn all these new solutions.
Yeah, no doubt. And the same goes for MSOs and DSOs. If you want to have a high...
DSOs will be a top channel in teaching dentists because they're going to invest a lot on preparing these dentists to any technology that makes a DSO more effective. They're going to adopt it, they're going to invest on it, and they're going to create their own centers to train, even universities to train the dentists to use these technologies. So, because when you own 1,000 clinics, when you own 1,000 practice, you can imagine it's better to have your own center and teach them yourself, about everything that you have.
Of course, no doubt, and if they want to have a benchmark that is at a high level, they need to bring all their dentists to this benchmark. Of course, there will be always some that will be much higher from the benchmark, but the benchmark needs to start in a high level. And the only way to do it is through education and practicing, and they have to take care of it themselves. Yeah.
Now, just to give some perspective and timeline here, you said, Lupin, that is a robotic system that we know the founders, we know the ones running. There are others out there already. 5 years for them to be able to go to market. So you can imagine already in 10 years, probably in 10 years, it's going to be a solution not out of this world. It will be something that people will be using, right? In 10 years, it goes fast.
Right. But this means another thing. This means that if today you already see that for many young dentists, there is a real problem of getting a job. And in many countries, they join larger companies that not always allow them to operate in the highest level, because at the end of the day, they look at numbers. In order to think how much it would cost today a dentist to open a practice and implement the current technologies that we have. We're talking about many hundreds of thousands of dollars, many. And the more technologies are coming in, at the beginning at least, they will be expensive. And most dentists cannot afford it, especially in the USA, where many dentists are already in debt for their dental studies, and they have to pay it back. So I think that when you look at it globally, the DSOs and the MSOs, one way or another, will take the lead
Of course.
in the dental world.
And it's going to be interesting then, because the same thing happened with labs. And you had boutique handmade labs, by far much better than production labs historically. Production labs jumped into technology first and mastered technology first. And now most of the technology available, you cannot afford if you have a boutique lab. Only if you have a big lab, you can update the technology and have all the different systems. And production big labs are becoming better and better because of that, to the point that, you know, you're going to always have a few handmade technicians here and there, you know, the exception of the exception of the exception. But if you're not working with the top 100 ceramists in the world, it's much better to go to a big professional production lab that has extremely high level quality control systems and technologies to get consistency and predictability with your work. And that is already happening. And in dentistry, you're going to see the same with DSOs, where in, I don't know, maybe 10 years, if you want the best technology, it's like a hospital, you know, the biggest hospitals are not necessarily worse because they're bigger. You know, they have the resources to bring the best people and technologies.
That's true. The thing about the smaller labs is that they can still outsource part of the work to other companies or labs that can help them producing whatever they need. And I guess that it will be the same with DSOs. DSOs will have their own stuff, but for specific high level or very complex treatments, we'll be able to outsource it to some people that will have agreement with.
So they're going to have like top clinicians that have they're affiliated to the big organization. Again, similar to hospitals, you know, where you can leverage the very exclusive human skills of few together with leveraging the best resources and technologies of big organizations and bring the best of both worlds.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that brings me to one of your bullet points here. You mentioned digital dentistry, hype, hope, or here to stay. What do you mean with that?
Well, there is no doubt that there is hype about it, but hype might be many times positive. So it's here to stay, no doubt. There is no way back once we start to enjoy it. On the other hand, as we know, there are many points that need to be upgraded, and not only upgraded, but we learn from our mistakes through the walking on this road. Not only mistakes, but also if you want to really make the technology more efficient, more accurate, and utilize it in a daily practice, then there are many things that we already use. For instance, in our practice, we don't take impressions with elastomeric materials unless it is for veneers. And this is because of the contact points that we don't break in every preparation, but for implants, for crown and bridge work, we scan. And we have excellent results. But it took us time. Plus, the technology improved by far. The scanners that we have today are far better than what we had 5 years ago, 3 years ago.
Drastically.
Yeah, and I hope and I guess that in 2 or 3 years from now, we will have even better systems. So now to integrate everything, to integrate the data capturing, whether it is by intra or extraoral scanning, to integrate the jaw movement in a way that it is applicable when you design the work, not only to show the patient that you can show him how his jaw is moving, because this means nothing, but to a real effect on the occlusal design, where AI can come into a very important role in this sense. to be able to plan ahead and to see that you are not out of the clinical boundaries when you plan whatever you plan. These things are very, very important, and they're already happening now, and we cannot go back. For me, if you take today my extraoral scanner, my intraoral scanner, if you take the softwares that we use today, I will be very unhappy. I'm not sure I'm able to practice anymore.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. We got to the point that it's already different than 5 years ago when we would enjoy the technology, but we could definitely do it without it, right? To the point that we don't even remember some steps of the process completely without technology.
Yeah. But you know what, Christian? Yeah? This is very interesting because there are still situations where you need to be able to master and to control some of the old techniques that the present digital systems cannot help us with. So think about those young dentists that were born into the digital era and they don't know how to utilize some basic.
But that's an important distinction here that I always like to talk about. I want to see your opinion. There's the best way to practice and there's the best way to learn. And they're not necessarily equal.
That's
you need to do some things to learn the best way possible, and you need to do other things to practice.
That's right.
Many things to learn and to prepare yourself to see things better, to process things better, and to manipulate things better with your own hands. Many times it's better to practice the analog way that will make you develop certain skills that you wouldn't if you would jump straight into digital tools. So I think that there's many things that young dentists still need to practice. For example, of course, we don't need to do face bows anymore, but to struggle with the process of doing a face bow in school and learning why the face bow was like that and how to position it and how to identify if it was right or wrong, it's an amazing educational process. To learn how to register a bite with a piece of wax and manipulate the mandible and try to find the jaw relationship and fill the position. It's something that you need to go through, to learn certain skills, to be able to then, in practice, use the most effective digital tool.
That's true, but there are two problems here. One problem is, in order to be able to master a technique, you need to exercise it. So if you just go through it in your basic studies and then the clinical scenario, you hardly practice it, you will forget. This is one problem. And the other thing is that there should be a distinction between materials, for instance. I don't think that a dental student today needs to learn how to make amalgam fillings or gold only. But they definitely need to know how to master different composite resins, whether they're direct or indirect. And maybe in the future, we will have different materials that will enable us to work more efficiently and quickly. Dentists today need to know how to practice rubber dam isolation if they want to go with adhesive dentistry. But maybe in the future, we will have bonding materials and resins that won't need this type of isolation. I don't know, but this thing needs to be practiced, and they need to be very well mastered at dental schools. Unfortunately, I can tell you that there are still many dental schools that they don't teach their students even these basic things. Do you know that there are some dental schools in Europe, for instance, that the students never met a real patient before they graduate?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
And so what they do once they graduate, where do they go?
They need to go to a senior or experienced dentist and sit by him and look and learn and start practicing.
Wow. So, because there's a, at the end of the day, you need to practice your hand skills, right? You need to have the minimum amount. If you choose to be a clinician, because you can become a dentist and do something else. You can do research, you can do academics, you can do business side of dentistry. But if you decide that you're going to be a clinician, there's a minimum level of hand skills that you need to develop. The same thing that you need to develop some physiologic experience with the environment, like manipulating a jaw. It doesn't matter if you have technology to record the jaw movement. I see it all the time. The dentist that has the experience with the whole system, they can make better choices. They can identify, raise the yellow flag. They can see things that are not functioning well.
Yeah. And when you finalize, let's say, a full mouth rehab, before you finalize it at the prototype stage, if you don't understand occlusion, then you're going to fuck up the definitive restorations or the teeth, for sure.
It doesn't matter the technology. You can have the best technology, by far the best technology.
Yeah.
Jaw, I think that's one of the most, in restorative dentist, one of the most important things that digital will not really help you. That is analyzing the bite, analyzing the jaw relationship, diagnosing the TMJ, and having the experience to manipulate the jaw, find a good position, and register that position, and transfer that position.
Yeah, there are some systems that can help you to track it, but at the end of the day, you need to use your brain and the skills in order to be able to control it. But there might be some qualities that we need today that might change in the future. Think about the qualities of a chopper pilot versus a different type of pilots. The way that you maneuver the stick is completely different. In general medicine, the surgeons that are utilizing robotics need different type of skills than those great surgeons in the past that used to cut and to open and to suture. So I believe that as we have today dental designers, something that never existed 10 years ago, the top dentist of the future might need to have different qualities than the top dentist of today or the 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah, but it's an evolution, right?
Yeah.
You evolve and you change and you adapt. But you always, it's like you always need to be good at the previous step to move to the next step.
That's true.
So of course, in 10 years, the previous step will be different than the previous step today. But you always kind of need to understand, you know, what came before to understand how to best utilize what is coming after. That's the sensation I have.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, the problem, I talked with many friends of mine, we graduated more than 40 years ago. Some of them never evolved, and they're happy or unhappy with what they know and are able to do. I can tell you that I'm very, very excited and happy with all the new technologies that we bring in, and we study it, and we sit with our team every week, at least once, sometimes more than once, to study, to try to analyze what is suitable for our practice or not. But at the same time, I have 40 years of experience of the old good fashion of high quality dentistry. And this helps me a lot, even when we utilize today the digital tools. I don't know what will happen in 10 years from now when we look at the new generation. You know, I have the pleasure of teaching postgraduate students in pros. And there is still a huge gap of knowledge that is very difficult today to fill because they are running after the technologies, trying to be able to control whatever systems they're using. And probably because of lack of time, they cannot have everything. You know, they need to decide where to concentrate. And for sure, they're missing some very important parts. And dental schools are not there yet to make the distinction of what is very important to pass to the new dentist to become and what can be learned and studies after graduation.
You know, that's the difference between the hype and the foundation. What is foundational and what is a hype? Hype is very superficial and changes very fast. Once from when you enter dental school to when you finish dental school, hype will already be different. And unfortunately, hype is exciting and hype is cool and hype attracts a lot of attention. And you want to know the hype. But the foundation is the key, you know, and the foundation is not only about technical clinical foundation, but is the foundation of the thinking process, the decision making, foundationally preparing your brain to be ahead of the game, regardless of the hype, right? So some schools, they teach those skills for you to think. Some schools are better than others to do that, you know, and because at the end of the day, you know, things are changing so fast that everybody is back to the same level, you know, every other year because everything changes. It's like reset, reset, reset. So it's all here, you know, are you prepared here to be slightly ahead of the game and take advantage of whatever is new now?
I will tell you, look, in the past, if you wanted to be a specialist in pros, You needed to know by heart JPD and some other journals. And until now, the most appreciated scientific papers are the meta-analysis of different studies, which today you go to ChatGPT and you get all the info in a click of a screen. So why should those students learn by heart instead of learning how to look for the things and to be able to extract what they need from the information that is already there? So there are many things that need to be changed. But if I'm a professor for the last 20 or 30 or 40 years and I'm used to something, most of those people don't want to change, because once they change, their claim to fame is over. So this is a big problem, and I guess that it will take some good years until new generation of dental educators in faculties will be able to implement whatever needs to be implemented. And actually, I think that any human being today, and this goes also for our profession, if they are not agile enough, they cannot survive. You need to be agile.
But you mentioned something else. You need to be agile, but you also need to be disconnected emotionally from what you think you're very good at.
Yeah.
Because when you become a master on something, usually you create your own solutions, or you're customizing some techniques. You own it, you're proud of it, and then you get into that trouble you mentioned. You get emotionally attached to it, and you don't want to let it go, even though there's better ways of doing it, you know?
That's true.
So you need to be, things are changing so fast, you cannot be emotionally attached. If you invent a solution, dentists like to create things, right? Dentists like to invent their own way. You know, let me show you what I just created. You know, I don't do it like everybody. I do it like this. You know, that's my way, and it's better because of X, Y, Z. And sometimes I see people getting stuck for 20 years doing it because it's their way, was their idea, right? Of course, that slows us down. You know, that keeping that beginner's mind, keeping your humbleness, and listening and being open. And
oh, it's very interesting when you talk about innovations. You know, when I was a young dentist and I started to practice posterior composites, the way that we were taught didn't make sense for me. So I started with a different way of building up the restoration from the periphery of class 2 restorations, building up the proximal wall first, and then I have a class 1 to fill in and to build up the cusp. And we called it then the centripetal buildup, and this became standard today. Nobody knows who started or who proposed it, but it's not important. It's important that people can utilize this concept and enjoy it and be much more efficient. So there are innovations that are getting birth from a need, a clinical need. For instance, I will tell you, sometimes you don't need to go for high tech. I invented some 2 years ago, a very small device to remove the Teflon plug that you place into the holes of implant restorations, instead of trying different instruments to take it out. So this is something that is very low tech, but it allows you, by spinning in, to remove whatever is there in this tube or in this chimney in split of a second. And this makes my life, and not only my life, much easier, much faster, especially if you deal with many implant restorations. So sometimes you need it. On the other hand, when you look around, there are many technologies.
Let me comment on that. You have this behavior of always creating new ideas, not being emotionally attached, being very pragmatic, realistic, and effective on your ideas, right? For example, you invent that little thing. For some people, this will mean, though, I did invent this. This was my invention, and they become so proud of it. Now, imagine that one day, screw retain implants are not the best choice anymore. This person will be attached to a screw retain crown because of the fact that they invented a device that only works for a screw retain crown. And it doesn't matter that there's a better solution that doesn't require a channel anymore, a chimney. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you get attached to that idea. I need that problem to sell my solution. So exactly. I will stick to the problem.
Exactly. And there are many examples like that. For instance, today, if you want to plan and to place implants in a very accurate way, you plan it with the CBCT and the intraoral scan, you superimpose, you plan it in the best place that the implant needs to be. And then you create, you print a static guide, you place it, and then it's a no-brainer just to drill through it and to place the implant. And it was not as accurate as it is 5 years ago, but today you have excellent, fantastic systems that allow you to be very accurate. And then people say, well, Actually, I can have a dynamic navigation because the technology is there for missiles, for whatever. So why don't we try to implement it in dentistry? So let's put a helmet, let's put goggles, let's put augmented reality or mixed reality or whatever you call it, and let's make the dentist a pilot. And let's let the dentist look through it, and then he will go through the red line and he will superimpose it on the, I don't know, green or blue line. Who needs it? What for? Yes, the technology is there, but what does it solve actually?
Mm.
So there are many, many examples like that, that people try to be over sophisticated
Yeah.
where there is no need.
That's the hype.
That's the hype. That's right.
That's the
That's
hype. Yeah.
But the nice thing about it is that when you talk about it business-wise, and you look for investors for different startups like that, usually you are looking for people that are not very aware of the needs of the dentist, that they don't leave it. Because
That's
it's very
the question,
sexy.
right? Yeah. The question is what problem you're trying to solve,
Exactly.
and then how relevant is that problem for the size of the investment to acquire the solution.
That's right. And more than that, if there is no problem, but you need to invent the problem, then you invent the problem. And then
Yep.
you play with
That's
the
marketing.
numbers. For instance, you say that there are X million of people that are missing a single tooth or several teeth, but there are much less dentists that place implants. Why? Because the dentists are afraid to place implants. Do you think that placing a helmet or a virtual reality glasses will help those dentists that were refraining from placing implants? Then they will place the implants. So things like that. But when you go to an investor and you tell him, look, these are the numbers, and we think that by investing in this technology, you will bring in many more users. Those who don't understand the real world of dentistry are mesmerized by it. There are many, many examples like that.
Yep.
And as you said before, once you are sticking to an innovation that is your baby, you're fighting in every manner to try to implement it, even if you don't need it.
Yep. And once you get a big numbers of investment, the investors are now like, regardless if this is good or not, our money is in, this has to work. So we're going to create the stories, we're going to create the problem, we're going to convince people.
That's right. But at the end of the day, the truth usually floats on the water. So if you look at Dentsply Sirona that purchased orthodontic retainer company some years ago that was supposed to help people doing it at home, they invested more than $1 billion and they wiped it off. So at the end of the day, if it doesn't deliver, you cannot tell stories.
You can go so far with BS, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you go pretty far. I get amazed sometimes.
Yeah, but this is the human nature.
That's again the hype against what is hype and what is the real problem. And that's why I love learning from mentors how to ask the right questions before major decisions, before major investments. We need to ask the right questions to identify, to choose the next course, to buy the next technology, to hire the next person, to make the next move. We need to ask the right question and then realize what is the problem that we want to solve, and then realize how relevant are the solutions, the return on the investment, and then also ask yourself, maybe this is a good solution for a relevant problem, but there's another solution coming soon that will make this one obsolete before I even get my return on my investment. So it's not easy.
Another solution is China. Whenever the Chinese decide, they will create whatever you have cheaper and probably better.
Yes.
This is happening, look at the car industry, the electric car industry, what's going on today in Europe, in Germany, and look what the Chinese are coming with. And this happens also in the dental field. You see the robotics that are being developed in China. You see the scanners that are developed there. So if the technology that you come up with is really lucrative, let's say, the Chinese will eat you because they don't have problems with regulations. They don't have any problem.
They move fast and they are delivering a lot of quality. Yeah, I can say that with the scanners. It's amazing what the new scanners can do.
So those things need to be always considered when you talk about innovations. There will be always markets in the world that we look for cheap products, that we look for some kind of easier solutions. But when you talk about high tech, when you talk about innovations that need a lot of technology and computers behind it, then I believe that it will not be easy. As you said, you never know what is being developed at the same time that you develop your own innovation somewhere else. Usually you don't know. And you can work on something for years and suddenly somebody else comes up with a better solution and you're out.
Yeah, gone. Now, Kirk, do you have some, you always listen and then you come with some final good questions. Otherwise, I have my final one for Nitzan.
Let's go with yours. I have so many. We should probably do a part 2.
Yeah, no, we're gonna do a part 2 for sure because I wanna cover the other topics. Basically, mentorship, becoming a QL, the roles of a QL, behind the scenes of the lecturing circuit. I think that will be these are very interesting topics. But I think this topic we covered today was so complete and robust, related to identifying technological trends, making decisions, Nitzan, if you can conclude, I would say focusing on 3 different personas. What would you say to a young dentist? A final message to a young dentist regarding all these new trends. A final message to an experienced dentist regarding all these new trends, and a final message to somebody that wants to invest in dentistry.
Well, I think that the most important factor that we still didn't mention is to be a human being. You treat people. You are not a robot. So the technology is supposed to empower you, but not to replace you. So I wouldn't like to see human robots as dentists treating human beings. You need to be able to connect to your patient, to understand their problems, to try and identify what is the best solution for them. And, dental treatment is never a very, very, I would say, pleasant experience. Just the fact that you have to open your mouth and let somebody else intrude terrifies many people, rightfully. So the patients need to keep on trusting their dentist, and for that you need to have very good interhuman skills. This is very important. And I think that this is something that is lacking in dental education. It's very important. So this would be the first thing that I would always stress and underline. Then for the young dentist, I believe that they need to be able to upgrade their manual skills constantly. The dexterity is very, very important in dentistry, whatever treatment modality you're practicing. They need to be able to extract from the sea of information what are the right, I would say, concepts to adapt and to utilize. I believe that because the information is so huge, the relationship between peers, between colleagues, becomes much more important. Because if I tell you, look, Christian, I've been using this and this and this technology, this works great, and you trust me, or you tell me, don't use that one because it's a BS, then it saves a lot of time, and it saves a lot of money, and it saves a lot of tears. So at the end of the day, with all the advancement, the digital and the technological advancements, to be able to utilize it correctly, you need to contact. Networking is very, very important for the young dentist. And this goes also for the experienced dentist. Don't stick to concepts or to different techniques just because you've been practicing them for many years. You have to expose yourself to new technologies, to new techniques, because they might change your professional life. And for investors, I would definitely suggest never invest in a field that you don't understand unless you have very smart and knowledgeable consultants. And always find somebody that is the devil's advocate before you take a decision to put your money here or there.
Mm-hmm. Do you think DSOs are starting to learn how to combine quality to their mentality of growth?
I think that they understand the problems. I think that they're still late in adapting the need of very, very structured dental education. But this will come whether they want it or not. And for that, they will need to develop new methodologies they will need to acquire people that are able to deliver. And I guess that this what will happen in the coming years.
Yeah, I agree. We humans, we always find a balance after the extremes. So hypes and trends, they come, they usually generate strong movements in one direction. That movement is always usually an excess that brings us back to the other side, and we move to an opposite direction. And then we usually find the balance after a while, and we see that evolutionary movement in human history over and over again. But we always find balance sooner or later. And I think that with technology, with AI, with robotics, we will find a balance as well.
It will take time, and we need to accept it. You cannot adapt a new technology and think that it will solve all your problems. Once it is new, you need to know that there will be a learning curve, and you need to know that there will be some pitfalls because it's new.
Mm-hmm.
So either you accept it, or if you want to go and to be on the safe side of the road, wait, let others do it, but stay behind.
Yeah. Come after the early adopters, but before the mainstream.
Yeah, exactly.
The window of opportunity to be ahead of the curve without struggling with the maturation of the solution.
Yeah, although sometimes you have to pay a price. Look, you cannot, like in investments, you cannot expect for high returns if you don't take some risks. It doesn't happen in life, in general.
Yeah.
So you need to accept the fact that you take some risks, and you need to know that you might pay a price for that. But you know, on the other hand, that if it goes well, then you won big time. It's like
but
that.
That's a good balance as well. I would say, let's say around 80% of the time, you want to play safe, but you want to leave that 20% of room to take risks. So you can, 80% of the solutions, 80% of the techniques, 80% of the purchases, 80% of the investments, you're doing what is proven to be the right. But if you only play there, if you only play safe, you don't allow yourself the opportunity for the big wins. So you need that balance. You need to leave a little bit of room to take, measured risks, controlled risks, and bet once in a while, on certain things. But you cannot live 100% on the betting and risk-taking side. Probably as a dentist, you don't want to be there all the time.
No, and this is why I believe that the networking and the direct connections between peers are so important today.
And being part of communities, belonging to groups that you can, because it's hard, by yourself to evaluate everything that is going on.
No, it's not
overwhelming.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And be open. Today the media is full of great things. You need to be able to pick those particular things that can really teach or help you. But on the same time, participate in some meetings of great academies like the European Academy of Aesthetic Dentistry, like the American
100%.
Academy. This is very important.
But what is funny?
By the way, we missed you in Split last week.
Yes. Yeah, no, but I'm 100% in the next one, European Academy. I'm trying to balance. 1 year I go to the American Academy, 1 year I go to the European Academy. So in this August, I'm going to Carlsbad at the American one. But yeah, European Academy. But you brought up a very good topic. I think that ends this discussion very, very well. With the same speed that we are moving and evolving towards technology and AI and artificial and digital intelligence and digital connections, etc., this whole movement is also forcing us to connect more and more as humans. And I think that groups, academies, congresses, real in-person connections will grow again. The importance of it will grow again because we will all be tired of the virtual connections and digital information. And we will more than ever need to look in people's eyes, people that we trust, ask the tough questions, and be able to read the body language and all the human expressions of the answers to those important questions. Things that not even on Zoom you can capture. You cannot.
The COVID taught us a very, very big lesson about that. We thought after COVID that Zoom and this type of connections will replace the direct meeting between people, and what we see is the opposite happened. So we still utilize Zoom whenever we need to. Sometimes we can work from home on several topics or subjects, but at the end of the day, we need the human contact. We are human beings, you know?
Yeah, yeah. For the things that really matters, we're becoming more humans than ever.
Exactly.
For sure.
Nitzan, I loved it. I think we were able to really touch some key topics in this crazy world and moment that we live. And I want to officially already invite you to part 2,
With
where
pleasure.
we can talk about mentorship, lecturing, and academics, teaching and learning, what it means to be a great teacher, what it means to be a great learner, what is the life behind the scenes of somebody that is dedicated to education. I think that's a great topic for part 2.
We'll do it.
I would love that.
Done.
Nitzan, so nice to meet you.
My pleasure, Kirk. Christian, it was a real pleasure.
Always a pleasure. We stay in touch. Hope everybody enjoyed.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Have a good day, everyone.